Imagine waking up one day to find your life savings, your retirement, your entire career gone, vanished. This was the nightmare reality for over 20,000 employees of Enron, a company that was once the 7th largest in America. In 2001, it all came crashing down in one of the most infamous corporate scandals in history, wiping out over $70 billion in market value. How did a titan of the energy industry, a darling of Wall Street, become a symbol of corporate greed and deception? This is the story of the Enron collapse, a cautionary tale that still echoes today. Our story begins in 1985 in Houston, Texas. Kenneth Lay, a charismatic economist with powerful connections, merged two natural gas pipeline companies to create Enron. Initially, Enron was a straightforward energy company, buying and selling gas. But under the leadership of Lay and his ambitious protege, Jeffrey Skilling, Enron transformed. They weren't just selling energy, they were trading it like stocks and bonds. They pioneered the idea of an energy bank, creating complex financial contracts and derivatives based on the future price of gas, electricity, and even things like internet bandwidth. For a while, it was a spectacular success. Enron's stock soared, and its executives were hailed as visionaries. They were innovators, disruptors, the architects of the new economy. They cultivated an aggressive, win-at-all-costs culture. Employees were ranked and fired based on performance in a system nicknamed rank and yank. The pressure to deliver ever-increasing profits was immense. But behind the curtain of innovation, a dark and complex fraud was taking shape, masterminded by Chief Financial Officer Andrew Fastow. So, how did they pull it off? The main trick was hiding massive amounts of debt. If you're a company and you borrow $1 billion, that debt has to appear on your balance sheet, your official financial record. This makes the company look less healthy to investors. Enron didn't want that. So Fastow created a web of what are called special purpose entities, or shell companies. Think of these as separate, smaller companies created and controlled by Enron, but technically independent. Enron would then sell its poorly performing assets and, more importantly, transfer its enormous debts to these shell companies. Because these entities weren't officially part of Enron, all that debt was hidden from investors and the public. It was like sweeping billions of dollars of financial garbage under a rug. On paper, Enron looked incredibly profitable with low debt and high earnings. In reality, it was a house of cards, propped up by accounting tricks and a mountain of hidden liabilities. They also use something called mark-to-market accounting. Typically, you record revenue when you actually receive cash. But mark-to-market allowed Enron to book projected future profits from a deal the moment it was signed. Imagine signing a 20-year contract and claiming all 20 years of potential profit immediately, as if you had all that cash in hand. This created gigantic phantom profits that existed only on paper. It fueled the illusion of unstoppable growth, pushing the stock price ever higher, and making executives who were paid in stock options incredibly rich. The company was essentially running on fantasy. The whole scheme depended on one thing. Enron's stock price had to keep going up. If the stock fell, the whole fragile structure would collapse. And in early 2001, the cracks began to show. The dot-com bubble had burst and the market was getting nervous. Journalists and analysts started asking tough questions. Where were these incredible profits actually coming from? Why were Enron's financial statements so confusing and opaque? A reporter for Fortune magazine, Bethany McLean, famously asked a simple question in an article: is Enron overpriced? She pointed out that no one, not even the experts on Wall Street, could seem to explain exactly how Enron made its money. This was the first loose thread. Soon after, Jeffrey Skilling, the CEO and architect of the strategy, abruptly resigned, citing personal reasons. This sent shockwaves through the market. Why would the captain abandon a supposedly unsinkable ship? Panic began to set in. Then the dam broke. In October 2001, Enron announced a staggering loss of over $600 million and a reduction of shareholder equity by $1.2 billion, a direct result of its deals with Fastow's hidden companies. The house of cards was wobbling. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, launched an investigation. Within weeks, the truth came spilling out. Enron was forced to admit it had been overstating its profits for years. The numbers, the growth, the success, it was all a lie. The fallout was swift and devastating. Investors, realizing they had been duped, fled. The stock price, which had peaked at over $90 a share, plummeted to less than $1. On December 2, 2001, Enron filed for bankruptcy, the largest in U.S. history at the time. For the employees, it was a catastrophe. Many had their entire 401k retirement plans invested in Enron stock. They lost everything overnight. Thousands of people lost their jobs, their savings, and their futures, while the executives at the top had cashed out hundreds of millions of dollars in stock before the collapse. The takedown was a media sensation. The investigation led to criminal charges against almost all of Enron's top executives. Andrew Fastow, the CFO who built the financial labyrinth, pled guilty and agreed to testify against his former bosses in exchange for a lighter sentence. His testimony was key to unraveling the complex fraud. The big trial was that of Kenneth Lay and Jeffrey Skilling. In 2006, they were found guilty on multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy. Their defense was that they were unaware of the specific accounting fraud, blaming it all on a few rogue employees like Fastow. But the jury didn't buy it. They saw a culture of arrogance and deceit that started at the very top. Jeffrey Skilling was sentenced to over 24 years in prison, though it later was reduced. Kenneth Lay, however, never served a day. He died of a heart attack just a few months after his conviction, his verdict later vacated due to his death. The accounting firm, Arthur Andersen, one of the largest in the world, was also found guilty of obstructing justice for shredding tons of Enron-related documents. The conviction was later overturned by the Supreme Court on a technicality, but the damage was done. The firm collapsed, and 85,000 people lost their jobs, a stark reminder that the scandal's victims extended far beyond Enron itself. So, what are the lessons from this epic disaster? The Enron collapse was a brutal wake-up call about the dangers of unchecked corporate greed and the importance of transparency and ethics in business. It showed how a toxic corporate culture, focused only on hitting numbers at any cost, can lead to catastrophic failure. It also exposed major flaws in the systems meant to protect us. The accountants, the lawyers, the investment banks, the supposed gatekeepers of the financial world all failed in their duty, often because they too were profiting from Enron's apparent success. In response to the scandal, the U.S. government passed the Sarbanes-Oxley Act in 2002. This landmark legislation created stricter rules for corporate accounting, enhanced accountability for executives, and established new standards for financial reporting to prevent another Enron from ever happening again.